this is Marlyonama, and welcome back to another year of Squaretember. Today we are looking at how Square merged with Enix, and how they stopped being the developers they used to be, which continued up until recently. So, today we will start off with the first Final Fantasy to receive a direct sequel, all the way up to the compilation of Final Fantasy VII this year. So, hey, let's join in to the dawn of a new era. After the success of Kingdom Hearts, Square was attempting to maximize its profits by merging with another video game rival making the same genre of video games, Enix, and together they became Square Enix. With Squaresoft being no more, Sakaguchi left the company to form his own studio, Mistwalker. A lot of people were wondering if Final Fantasy would ever be the same without him, or if the series will even continue to exist. Well, the answer would be yes and no, because Square actually got a new president, Yuichi Wada, and he was of course more into maximizing revenue than really just appealing to fans. Mainly included sequels, spin-offs that were good to okay, and others that really just suck balls for the sole purpose of swindling your wallets. And you know where that trend actually began? Well, you could say the merge was the result of losing so much money after that abomination of The Spirits Within, which you can also check out my own ranting review on this movie. And really the start of all this under Wada's new leadership began with the first Final Fantasy that was actually a direct sequel from a main numbered title, Final Fantasy X-2. And this was mainly due to the fans' reaction of the ending of the first game involving, well, Tidus' disappearance. So the story, of course, picks up 2 years after the end of Final Fantasy X, where you control Yuna, who's searching for Tidus, even though clearly she saw him disappear right in front of him during the ending of the last game. However, in this game, you're set to only 3 playable characters, all of which are girls, which aside from Yuna also include Riku from the last game, and a new character, Pain. They are part of a group of spear hunters, and what the spear hunters do is they travel around Spira looking for video spheres to find hints of Tidus. And by the way, Tidus' name is not really because of the option in the previous game that allows people to rename him, and thus the voice acting never really mentioned his name. One of their rival spear hunters, LeBlanc, who's wearing a way too revealing dress with a lot of double-sided tape, is somehow able to transform into Yuna whenever she puts on her dress sphere. And she's able to trick everyone at the concert, the very beginning of the game. That doesn't make any sense. Like, how come when she puts on dress spheres, it completely changes the character model, and my other playable characters, it just changes their clothes?
Huh? What? What? Hey,
And speaking of the dress spheres, this is actually the job system they have in the game, similar to what they used in Final Fantasy V and Final Fantasy III. With the exception of the sub-job ability, they work in the exact same way, with each abilities and stats being transferred to those jobs. Yeah, and one of these spheres that you find, you actually come across a guy who looks exactly like Tidus. This is actually Shuyin, the main antagonist of this game, and not Tidus, is really trying to blow up the world with this Vegna gun machine, which he created to really protect his girlfriend Len, a Yuna lookalike. Because it just so happens that, well, Shuyin is just a real-world clone of Tidus who lived in the real Xanarkand on Spira 1,000 years ago. And it just so happened that the Yuna lookalike was also a summoner as well as a popular singer. However, among the creation of Vegna gun that used to protect Len, winds up in them both getting killed. Yeah, and when you fight Vegna gun, it's a creepy looking thing that's an elephant head and a butterfly body. that is solely capable of destroying the world. Somehow Shuyin was able to go from the far plane to do this. This is a heavy plot twist though. Yeah, and during the very end of the game, you're gonna get a different ending depending on how much time you take on Vegnagun, as well as completing missions, which are essentially side quests throughout the game. And if you take too long on Vegnagun, the world will be destroyed.
Didn't you?
But however,
You want to walk
if you're successful and you actually go to the Faith saying that you want to see him again, you get the best ending. Ortiz is brought back from the far plane and they just reunite.
Hey! Oh! Hey, that's not cherishing.
You didn't disappear.
And let the internet fanfictions continue with this saga. Join me next time as I cover the other smaller games and spin-offs that I've overlooked from last year's Squaretember, including the Parasite Eve games and Final Fantasy Tactics and other Final Fantasy spin-offs, as I continue on this year's Squaretember retrospective.